A scientist wants to dissect and study everything empirically. He wants to put everything under the microscope. When it comes to God, God is beyond the five senses. We can't see Him, we can't feel Him, we can't hear Him, we can't study Him. Because a scientist cannot study God under the microscope, he can't dissect Him just like he dissects and studies a cell under the microscope. What does he do? He rejects God. Says, I can't study God, it's beyond the five senses, it's beyond science. They reject God. Likewise, you find the hereafter, the hell, heaven, what happens after we die, angels, spirits, all of this is beyond science. So since it's beyond the jurisdiction of science, sometimes scientists will use this as an excuse to what? Disbelieve in Allah and religion. And you see, this mentality towards God and religion is not new. Scientists of today, this existed during the time of the Imams. An atheist comes to the Imam al-Rida alayhi salam one day. And he tells the eighth Imam, he tells him, describe me your God, where is He? How can I know Him? Imam al-Rida, he tells him that Allah is beyond the five senses. You can't hear Him, you can't see Him, you can't feel Him, you can't touch Him through the five senses. So the atheist tells the Imam, then if that's how your God is, He's beyond the five senses, if I can't know God through the five senses, then He doesn't exist. What type of God is this? I can't see Him, I can't feel Him, He doesn't have a place, He's out of time, out of place. Then He doesn't exist. Imam al-Rida alayhi salam, he gives such a beautiful answer. He tells him, وَيْلَكَ لَمَّا عَجَزَتْ حَوَاسُكَ عَنْ إِدْرَاكِهِ أَنْكَرْتَ رُبُوبِيَّتَهِ. He says, when you saw that you are not able to understand God and reach God through your five senses, you disbelieved in Him because of this. He says, as for us Ahlul Bayt, it's the other way around. He says, وَلَمَّا عجزت حواسنا نحن أهل البيت ولما عجزت حواسنا عن إدراكه أيقنا أنه ربنا. He says, as for us, when we saw that we cannot understand God through the five senses, we understood. And this increased our certainty that He is our Lord. Because if there is a God and I could see Him, if there is a God and He is limited by this physical world, He has a body and a place, that means He's not a true God. What type of God is this that has a body? That means He's limited by the laws of nature. God has to be beyond the laws of nature. He's the creator of the laws of nature. He's the sustainer of the laws of nature. But He can't be within them and governed by them. So if I can see Him, that means He has a place. That means He has a body, and that's a limit. That's a deficiency. I know He's not a God. Once I know that I cannot understand God through the five senses, I know He's the true God. So it's the exact opposite mentality. So this is reason number 3 of the resentment of scientists towards religion. Reason number 4 why scientists resent religion, they reject religion, is that you find many times certain religions, they make scientific statements. They'll speak about certain matters of the universe, how the planets work, how the stars work, about the mountains and the oceans and the rivers, and about natural disasters, about how the human body functions, and so on and so forth. Now, religions thousands of years ago make this statement. Science, as it advances, as it progresses, you find it sometimes discovers facts that contradict what religion said thousands of years ago. And that's why a scientist, when he looks at that, he says, wait a minute, this religion is nonsense. Because right now, we scientists are discovering facts, evidence, that disproves what your religion said 1,000 years ago. So that means your religion is not from God. Your religion is wrong. So they take this as an excuse to what? Disbelieve in the religion. Or other times, you will find that certain religions give supernatural reasons to natural phenomena. For example, why do earthquakes happen? Why does the sun rise every day? Why are there mountains? Why are there this? Why are there that? What's the purpose of, why does the moon, move and we see it in different sizes all the time? You see, different religions will give you supernatural reasons. There's earthquakes because God is mad and He's shaking the world. The sun rises because there's an angel that lifts it every day and puts it in the middle of the sky. Now all these are supernatural reasons to natural phenomena, right? Now science, as it advances, it begins to discover natural reasons. Earthquakes happen because of tectonic plates. They move And that's why we have earthquakes. The sun rises because of the rotation of the earth. So the sun isn't moving, the angle is changing. And so on and so forth. We have rain because of the water cycle. Water evaporates. The condensation and evaporation of water, and so on and so forth. So when the scientist says, hey, wait a minute. Now that there is a reason that I can understand, that I can relate to, I'm not going to take the reasons of religion. Those reasons are for the primitive human being, for the less educated. The ones that are not educated, they can believe in all of that. But for me, for the scientist, that I want proof for everything, I want something that makes sense, I'll stick with science, I don't want religion. And they will stay away from religion because they see science as more intellectual. It's more academic. It gives reasons based on proof, not based on blind belief. And that's why, you see, this is what happened between the ongoing debate between creationism and evolution. Religions always used to say, Christians for example, where did we come from? We came from a human being that God created spontaneously. He had no father, no mother. That's Adam and Eve. And that's how we came about human beings. And how is this world, where did this world come from? From Allah, from God. There was a designer and He designed this world. They tell you, just look at this world, and we'll speak about all of this in the subsequent nights. They tell you, look at this world. It's so finely tuned and precise, accurate design. There has to be a creator. It can't just came by itself. So now this is the old belief. Now what happens? Darwin comes with the theory of evolution, and he tells you, now I have an alternative belief that's a counter reaction to the idea of creationism. First of all, how did we humans come into existence? We evolved from apes, for example. So this is a scientific explanation to our origin. So I no longer need religion. How was this universe created, and how was it so finely tuned? It's all through evolution. We'll speak about this in detail in the subsequent nights. So they tell you, before, when we didn't have science, fine, we'll accept creationism, we'll accept religion, we'll accept having a God and designing this universe. But now that we have science and it's giving us the reasons behind everything based on evidence, I don't need religion anymore. Religion is for the less educated. For the intellectuals, we stick to science. So you see, for these reasons, they resent religion, they belittle religion. And the two have always been looked at as conflicting each other. Each one is going a different way, a different path. They are contradicting each other. One, they'll tell you, is based on blind belief, religion. Just believe. Why? Does it make sense? No, just believe. The other, science, is based on fact. It's based on evidence and proof. One makes sense, science. The other doesn't make sense. It's just belief. So obviously for the intellectuals, for the academics, they're not going to be too attracted by religion. They're going to be attracted to science. So they will see science as correct, and they will belittle religion. Religion doesn't make sense. And they tell you religion and science should be independent of each other. Neither one of them should interfere in the other's business. Religions should talk about religion, and science should study science. Neither one of them should interfere in the other's business. So this, my dear brothers and sisters, is what you find in the world of academics. And they take this, as I said, reasons to resent and reject religion. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Now, with all that said, out of all the religions, Islam in specific, and that's what we'll speak about tonight, Islam in specific is a religion that is 100% compatible with science. You will not find any teachings of Islam that contradict with science. You will not find anything in Islam that goes against science, that discourages scientists. In fact, Islam is a religion that is compatible with science. And that's why you see, we spoke last year about the different ways that we prove the Quran is the book of Allah. One of the ways that we prove the Quran is the book of Allah is through the scientific miracles in the Quran. One way we said is through the eloquence of the Quran. The eloquence of the Quran was a miracle. No one could match it. Another way was the cohesiveness of the Quran. Another way were the historical predictions in the Quran that were actually true. One fourth way, as I said, is through the scientific miracles. You see, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, when He revealed the Quran to the Arabs, those Bedouins, those desert dwellers, couldn't understand what Allah is saying. Because what? Because they were uneducated, they were ignorant, science hadn't advanced yet. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He placed many scientific details, scientific information, data inside the Quran. When do we know this? When science advances, and science discovers certain things, we go back to the Quran, we see it's already there. And there's many examples. You can find hundreds of websites on the internet that list all the scientific miracles of the Quran. Things that Allah said 1400 years ago, and the Quran science is only discovering now. For example, the Big Bang Theory. I'll speak about this on a different night. So I'll just quickly go over this. The Big Bang Theory. This theory was only discovered recently, in the past 60, 70 years. And it was discovered that the universe is expanding. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions this in the Quran. I'll speak about this in a different night, inshallah. It's all mentioned in the Quran. For example, the source of life is water. This is mentioned in the Quran. But you find it was only discovered recently in the 20th or 21st century. Allah says in the Holy Quran, وَجَعَلْنَا مِنَ الْمَاءِ كُلَّ شَيْءٍ حَيٍّ, that the source of life is water. It's mentioned in the Quran. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He speaks about mountains. Scientists, they have discovered recently, it's very hard to concentrate today with all the children. If sisters, I ask if there's something they can do about that, please. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Scientists have recently discovered that mountains, contrary to our belief, we human beings, we used to believe that mountains serve just as what? Just as beauty, right? What's the point of mountains? They're beautiful. We could go on the mountains, we could see them, they're beautiful. Science has recently discovered that mountains have a purpose. Everything has a purpose. What's the purpose of mountains? They serve as pegs. They serve as nails. You see, the earth has tectonic plates and they're constantly moving. And the earth is rotating and it's revolving around the sun. So there's lots of motion going on. And anytime you have a